the contest of miracles. It started way back when, and kind of picks up with Moses. And Moses said, "Well, how are they going to believe me? They're not going to believe me." And God starts it off with, "Throw down your rod; it's going to turn to a serpent." Pharaoh's sorcerers was able to do the same thing. And so now there's this contest between Moses and his God, and Pharaoh and his sorcerers against Moses and his God. And they're competing one against the other, even into the 10 plagues. There was the plague of blood and frogs and gnats and flies and dead livestock and hail and locusts and darkness and the death of the firstborn. A lot of those, Pharaoh's sorcerers were able to actually do the same thing that Moses and his God was able to do. So there's a showdown taking place. And what's interesting here is that God was actually competing against the God of each one of those plagues. And for instance, the plague of blood was against Hapi and Osiris, the Egyptian gods of the Nile. The plague of frogs was against Hequet, the Egyptian god of fertility. The plague of dead livestock was against Apis, the god of livestock, and the plague of darkness was against Ra, the god of the sun. So there was a lot going on behind the scenes. So when God was sending the plague of blood, there was actually gods called Hapi and Osiris that were gods of the Nile. So God turned the water of the Nile into blood. He was tantalizing these other gods, is what he was doing. It was a showdown. But then what had happened? What happened here? We get to the end where there is a death of the firstborn. So on the death of the firstborn, that is something that Pharaoh's sorcerers was not able to replicate. And so now all of a sudden, Pharaoh is helpless. There was no God in the land that was able to raise Pharaoh's son from the dead and bring him back. And Pharaoh felt helpless. And so this contest ended with Pharaoh letting the people go out of the land of Egypt. And so a couple verses of scripture to kind of add to that. Exodus 7:22, it says, "And the magicians of Egypt did so with their enchantments, and Pharaoh's heart was hardened. Neither did he hearken unto them as the Lord had said." Exodus 8:7 and 18, "And the magicians did so with their enchantments, and brought up frogs upon the land of Egypt." And so what you're going to see here is that this contest between God and Pharaoh. See, Pharaoh was a type of God. There was nobody or nothing on the face of the earth higher than Pharaoh. And, of course, that you could see. Pharaoh had gods, the god of the Nile, like I just pointed out, and the god of livestock and stuff. They contributed a god to these different aspects of living, the god of the sun. But there was nothing in the land higher than Pharaoh. Pharaoh was the highest one in the land. So we're going to come back around to this beautiful story of the fact of this death of Pharaoh's son not being able to raise from the dead. We're going to pick it up with Abraham willing to bring his son Isaac and sacrifice him, but God provides a ram in the thickets. Okay, that is symbolic of and pointing to the fact that Jesus Christ is going to be given as a sacrifice for us and will raise from the dead. Now at the very end, the great miracle, God wins. God wins. The miracle of miracles, the miracle to put all miracles to sleep, the sign to put all signs to sleep, the great wonder to put all great wonders to sleep is the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. And that's what all of this points to. And this is just the beginning right here. This is just the beginning right here. But everything points to that. Signs and wonders can be a test from the Lord. In Deuteronomy 13:1-3, it says, "If there arise among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and giveth thee a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder come to pass, whereof he spake unto thee, saying, Let us go after after other gods which thou hast not known, and let us serve them. Thou shalt not hearken unto the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams, for the Lord your God proveth you, to know whether ye love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul." God will use signs and wonders to test the one who gives them and the one who receives or rejects them. So just because there is a sign or a wonder doesn't mean that you have to receive it. It doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't mean it's legitimate. It doesn't mean it's from God. Okay, keep in mind that a lot of these churches out there, a lot of these people are being hoodwinked. They're being deceived. And they're following after false apostles and false teachers, deceitful workers. God will test us up against so-called signs and wonders. Dagon is the national god of the Philistines. He was the fish god. In Hebrew, Dag means fish. He was represented as a half-man, half-fish creature, represented evolutionary belief that both men and fish had evolved together from the waters. In other words, leave God completely out of it. Evolution is where we came from. That was the god Dagon. In Judges 16:23, the Philistines offer a sacrifice to Dagon after believing he gave Samson into their hands. 1 Chronicles 10:10, a temple of Dagon is mentioned where the head of King Saul was kept. 1 Samuel 5:1-12, Dagon is humiliated by the God of the Israelites and falls to the ground before the ark of the Lord, and his head and hands are cut off. So there is a contest going on between God and Dagon. And every morning, the priests would come to the temple and Dagon would be face down. They'd set him back up. Next day, face down, set him back up, until finally his head and his hands were all broken to pieces. God had won. God had won that contest. Elijah called down fire from heaven to demonstrate the power of the true God, Yahweh, over the gods of the polytheistic ancient world. In 2 Kings 1:10, Elijah answered and said to the captain of 50, "If I be a man of God, then let fire come down from heaven and consume thee and thy 50. And there came down fire from heaven and consumed him and his 50. That statement, if I be a man of God. And see, this is what's getting a lot of people in trouble. In the New Testament, after the gospel of Jesus Christ has come, after the greatest message there is has come, and as the greatest sign that we have, the greatest victory that we have, and the greatest sign to this evil generation out here, the sign of the prophet Jonah, which is Jesus Christ, death, burial, and resurrection, that we have. We still have people that, if I be a man of God, then, I demand that angels post at the door. I demand that angels post at the back door. I demand that angels post at the pulpit behind me. If I'm a man of God, then let the angels push down on your shoulder. You have nothing to prove. You're already a man of God. You're already have Jesus Christ living inside of you. You have it all. You don't have to manipulate. You don't have to cook up. You don't have to try real hard to somehow bring to pass, the move of God in your midst, especially when it comes to signs, miracles, and wonders. God will do them as he pleases, and he will use as he pleases. Now, in the Old Testament, let's go all the way back in the Old Testament, Elijah, a real man of God, a true man of God, he said, if I be a man of God, then let fire come down from heaven. See, that don't work right now. That doesn't work today. Go outside right now and say, if I be a man of God, let fire come down from heaven. See, and let me know when fire comes down from heaven. It's not going to happen. I guarantee you it's not going to happen. I've already tried. It's not going to happen. If I be a man of God, people look for validation. This carries over even to the new covenant saint, where in James, we are referred to as men of like passions, like Elijah. Let's go to James chapter 5, verse 16 through 18. James chapter 5, verse 16 through 18. James chapter 5. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. Elijah was a man subject to like passions as we are, and he prayed earnestly that it might not rain, and it rained not on the earth by the space of 3 years and 6 months. And he prayed again, and the heaven gave rain, and the earth brought forth her fruit. Elijah called rain down out of heaven. No, he stopped the rain, and then he started the rain again. But there's an old saying, I hope nobody gets offended, but don't pee on me, don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. I've seen a lot of people over my time say and bring God into the picture. God's doing this and God's doing that. And as God's actually not doing it, lie right to the congregation. Change the prophecy. Many people who prophesied that COVID would be gone by a certain time. COVID was still there. Well, then they twisted and squirmed their way through and rearranged their words and then just lied right to the people and expected the people just to take it. Same thing with everything surrounding COVID. COVID messed all these prophets up. Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. Especially when it comes to healing. I don't like that. And I have a tender spot whenever a preacher tells somebody, oh, well, hey, okay, so God didn't heal you of cancer. I see that you still got the big tumor on your head. But hey, you're healed. You're healed. You're healed. Well, you're not healed unless you're healed. You're not healed unless you are healed. If you're going to say somebody's healed, be honest with them and say, look, you're not healed yet, but we're going to claim it by faith. We're going to confess it, and be more honest with people. Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. James 5:16 through 18.